Hello, everyone, again. This is Nathan Chua coming out to you from the Philippines. And if you're interested in what I do, just visit my website, onelifeonly.net. And for those of you who are new here, I'm a counselor from here in the Philippines, in Quezon City. All right. So this is going to be shown on YouTube and also uploaded on Spotify as a podcast. And also, it is in written form in the website onelifeonly.net because my website is also a blog. So you can read this if for those of you who prefer reading, listen, or watch it. Okay. All right. So this week's topic, I try to do this once a week as much as I can if I have the time. And fortunately, this week I do have some spare time on a Sunday to do this. All right. So, how can anxiety limit you? All right. The actual title of the article is How Anxiety Can Limit Your Life Choices. Well, I use the phrase how anxiety can limit you just to make it simpler for people to understand. Sometimes we don't really get what we mean by life choices. And sometimes we might think that life choices can be just big ones, but there are plenty of life choices that we make that are day to day, very simple, but can prove to be quite impactful to our lives and as well as our relationships with other people. All right. So let me just read to you what I wrote, and I'll, you know, flavor it with some of the thoughts that I have as I read them. That's what this blog is all about. All right. So, anxiety is probably one of the most common complaints people come to therapy for, which makes me wonder why this has not been a subject that I discuss more often. I think a lot of my anger issues stem from, I think a lot of my anger issues stem from a deeply held anxiety about an assortment of, uh, you know, events that occurred in my life. All right. I grew up in a home full of unpredictability, and the sight of anger and acts of intimidation were familiar. It is therefore quite easy for me to feel anxious about anything that can serve as an unexpected turn of events that don't go my way. I became very strict with rules that I felt were needed to keep things in check, even if much of these were out of my control. So, if you grow up in a very unpredictable environment, what makes it predictable are the rules that we come up with so that these things don't happen quite as often. Tama? So, madalas kung we grow up in a very, let's say, dysfunctional home or tumultuous environment, you know, the best thing to do is to come up with, you can't do this, you should not do this, you mustn't do this, all that stuff. Okay. So I think accidentally I came up with a metaphor that I hope people who suffer from anxiety due to a past traumatic experience can benefit from. This provides a very simple imagery of what goes on in us when we become overly controlled by our anxious thoughts and feelings in situations that could mean a lot to us if only we could overcome our difficult feelings. Unfortunately, that is most of what we have learned from mainstream psychology for many decades now. We should be able to control our anxiety or bring our anxiety down to certain levels in order to function and live meaningful and purposeful lives. I will have to leave this discussion for another time, though. The subject I wish to talk about is how we can understand what we do when we allow our anxiety to dictate our lives. Sort of a step backwards to see the unworkability of the things we do when we experience anxiety. Okay? So here's the metaphor that I don't know, just popped into my head one day. I was talking to a client. Let's say a person gets involved in an accident caused by a yellow car. As we have minds that are capable of remembering much more than other animals do, that person's mind will remind him of the terrors caused by yellow cars in his life. In fact, even the word yellow can bring back all the sordid details of the accident. So, ganun yung minds natin eh. It works, like the old act saying is, learn it in one, derive it in two. So, we learn one way, we derive relations two ways or even more. Okay. So let's just imagine that this person who had that car accident with a yellow vehicle went for a pleasure trip someday where he enjoyed sightseeing so much that he forgot there will be no other options to get back to his hotel anymore other than riding a yellow cab. All right. So unfortunately, he or she or they would have to walk to the hotel in the middle of the night where there is less certainty that it will be safe. Now, question is, would that person summon the courage to take a yellow cab then? If safety and enjoying the vacation is important enough, one can be forced to ride the cab. And by forced, I mean by the person's own free will and by workable, how much more workable taking a yellow cab would be, right? Okay. So now here's how this story can relate to our own histories of past trauma. In acceptance and commitment therapy or ACT, not being able to realize different contexts in which real danger should be avoided is at the heart of what is called psychological rigidity. What I refer, what I prefer to call behavioral rigidity or inflexibility. One thing that happens if we start following rules that our minds offer us to protect us in situations where there is an actual danger or threat, we begin to lose sight of other options available. We hold on to limited patterns of behaving in dealing with the myriad of situations that happen as we go through different life stages or different challenges or even daily challenges. If you are like many of us who have lived with imperfect parents or caretakers, there will be situations that will cause us to feel anxious. But some of these situations can call for a willingness to open up to these difficult feelings in order to enrich our lives. Noticing how our minds overgeneralize with rules is the key to breaking out of the limits our minds make. Opening up to our past history, noticing them as they are, is the key to what is possible. If we stay and see behind our difficult memories, there may be something we can learn which is important to us. In my case, I hated my own anger because I cared about being the kind in the presence of that anger. If you have been bullied you have been bullied or rejected, that hurts because you care about not being bullied, about being accepted. There's much to learn from what is painful. Don't run away. Stay and watch how much your pain says about you and the beauty of all that you hold dear and care about. In other words, don't run away from your own humanity. As it is often said in ACT or acceptance and commitment therapy, open up to your painful thoughts and feelings and see what gifts lay behind. So that's the end, folks, of this week's blog. It's pretty short, very few slides, and I hope you had an interesting time with me listening to this. And also hoping that you learn something about what's behind the pain that you feel. Uh, there's an old act saying is that if you run away from your pain, you'll never learn from it. And if you can see behind our pain, there must be something that we deeply care about. Okay, it wouldn't be hurtful if it didn't matter. So that's it for now, and thank you for listening or watching this video or reading my blog post. And you take care and visit me at onelifeonly.net. Follow me on Spotify. Follow One Life Only Counseling channel on Spotify, or like and subscribe to this channel and like this video. So it keeps my hopes up that when I see people actually watch these videos. All right. So you take care and have a good week ahead or good day ahead or whatever, whenever you're watching this. Bye bye for now and have a good life.